Yeah, it worked now. There we go.
Okay, good.
All right.
Right.
Just
Oh
give
yeah, I
it a
can see it
second.
now.
I have some Palo Santo I can light somewhere. Where did it go? I'm at a friend's house right now, so everything is kind of helter skelter.
Everywhere.
She
Yeah.
talked
How
me
long?
into coming river tubing with her, and I was like, river tubing of all things? Why
What?
not?
She's asking. What's that? Going where?
I was supposed to be having this week to finish my adulting that I was supposed to do before I leave for Grenada because I'm going to Grenada this Friday. But my friend
Nice.
says, well, instead of doing your adulting, how about you just come to New Jersey and we go river tubing and and get to the
Plan.
beach and stuff. I was like, done. I'll just skip all my adulting, cram it
Nice.
all into one day instead of a week, and go from
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I spent the whole day on the river yesterday, and it was amazing.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Wonderful. So today I'm taking the Munchkin to the beach.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice. Getting out in nature is a really important thing. And it was
Yeah.
wonderful to see how many people had the same idea yesterday. All these
Yeah.
people getting out into nature and,
Yeah.
refilling their cups, so to speak. Because the
Yeah.
energies have
Well,
been really chaotic lately.
really chaotic. Here in the UK, in England, we've got a bit of a heat wave for us because we don't deal with the weather over here. But it's kind of been nice in a way, even though it is a bit much sometimes. But I think we've had so much grey for the whole year. We've had like a blanket over our skies. So I think people are feeling a little bit relieved to have some sun, but it feels still very chaotic. There's a lot of heaviness in the last few weeks specifically. I know a lot of my people that I've worked with have had a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help when they're using geoengineering to lower
Yeah.
the frequency of the whole collective through
Yes.
tragedy. I mean, that's a big part of it. But also,
Yeah.
I feel even the sun itself feels more intense, doesn't it?
It does. It's not the same version, is it? We're all feeling that. Even the color of it, the feel of it, it definitely feels a lot more intense. I feel
Yeah.
like there's two versions of it. There's sometimes when the sun comes out, it feels
Sometimes you could
really
even see both
uplifting.
versions. You have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the 3D sun and the 5D sun, and they're like overlapping a little bit.
yeah. And one
Yes,
feels a lot better than the other. So just it's very alternate at the moment. Yeah,
certainly is.
yeah.
It's kind of funny to hear as well that I couldn't believe that the UK is in a drought
Oh, yeah.
because
That's
we talk about the UK being one of the wettest places you can go visit. It's kind of a running joke.
I don't know if that's very accurate
Not
because
anymore.
yeah, I don't know. I'll take it with a pinch of salt. I think with certain things, I'm not sure. There's so much rubbish going on in our skies here, and I know all around the world, but particularly I'm noticing it where I am. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a lot of mixed messages. I
I've never
think.
seen more chemtrails than I did in England.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've
Yeah,
noticed.
yeah,
Yeah.
they do a lot of spraying, but that's where spraying actually started. 1945. It was the British that originally started
Oh,
spraying.
lovely. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So we started over here.
You guys were
Yeah,
pioneers and
I mean, it's really particularly potent. Yeah, we're so used to the crappy weather as well. So I think maybe we just didn't notice it or something as a kind of collective. I don't know. We'll see. But I think more people are looking up now and seeing what is happening, which is good
well,
and also
things are
interesting.
certainly intensifying anyway.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help. We got the full moon tonight. We've got Mercury going into retrograde. We've got Saturn
Yeah.
retrograde and a few others. Yeah,
I
that
see.
are
I don't
coming.
know these. I don't really know the ins and out of the astrological things, but I always feel it and I can always see the energies. And I know that there's a lot of heavy stuff, chaotic stuff that's knocking a lot of people. It's like really, really potent at the moment. So that doesn't surprise me. We've got all those things going on. Yeah.
There's other weird stuff too. Like people were finding blue rain as
Oh,
well. Like,
really?
yeah. Like
Wow.
it looks like toilet bowl water after it's had some
Yeah.
kind of an additive to it.
Like
Yeah, the rain is
chemicals.
falling and landing on tarps and it's blue, bright blue.
Oh my God.
I
That's
know. Things are
crazy.
definitely getting weird. And I hate to say it, but the elite or the cabal anyway, are getting more desperate.
Yes.
Some of the things they're doing are really, it just goes to show that they're on their way out and they seem
Mm.
to know it. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of like children destroying their bedroom because they're upset that they're being grounded. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. It's like full on tantrums, throwing everything out the window and
Yes.
outdoors. And that's the thing. That's why when people think it's getting worse, it does look like that. It really does, because you're looking at the earth going, what is happening? But it's just the response to the fact that there is more light. Well, I know we hear these messages all the time, but I think it's good to just reinforce it. There is more light. There is an ascension happening. It's inevitable. So they, kind of put yourself into their shoes. If you were them, what else would you do?
Yeah.
You'd fight to the end, and you'd throw everything that you had. So you can kind of understand like where they're coming from, but it's just about realizing that that's not the reality. It's just the kind of response, to this ascension that I'm always told over and over. It is inevitable. And we even just need to look at the last 5 years from 2020 to 2025. The consciousness has shifted massively. There's so much more like coming up, and the conversations we're now having so different to 5 years ago. So I see that. No matter how heavy it gets, I still see that. So I hope people can tap into that, remembrance, because that's so important. Yeah.
I have a unique perspective on this though, because I can't think of anything worse than things staying the same.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't stand it anymore. I can't take it anymore. Like, no, I need change. I don't even care if it's going to get ugly change for a little while, as long as it's going to be some form of change that we can turn into something better than what we had before. Because we just get worse.
Yeah, it's like this stagnant, going around in a loop over and over and over, the same old thing. Like my definition of torture is just to be on cycle, someone saying the same thing to me over and over and over. And that's why things like movies and films and music, it's driving us all loopy at the moment, because we're seeing the same stuff regurgitated over and over and over. It's mindless, isn't it? It's like we've seen this movie 1,000 times, like just slightly different variation. So this is why it's the time for creatives. I really think this is our time. It's
going back to roots too, because we're going to do we're redoing. We're like, okay, we went too far down this path. Let's go back a little bit and start over a little bit, especially in regards to learning self-sustainability and personal accountability. A lot of people are really stepping up and recognizing where their power is. And that power is standing in your authenticity, for example. Being your true authentic self. No more of this cookie cutter bullshit. Everybody's really starting to recognize that they're different for a reason, and to allow that to stand out more rather than hiding in the shadows, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm seeing that more, because I use Facebook. That's why I kind of like Facebook, really, even though I don't like it in some ways. I kind of see it as like a snapshot of the collective, and I like to connect with a lot of different types of people. So I have a real variety, and I do see that coming through on my feed. People that are just, there's like this courage that's kind of clicked in for people, and I love it when I see it. People are just coming out of the spiritual closet. They're declaring things about themselves. They're shocking their friends and their family, and I'm seeing that more and more. And
they're like, I can't believe you believe that. It's like, well, I've kept that bottled up for a really long time because I didn't want you to judge me, but now I don't care anymore.
Yeah, a lot of like confessional energy on Facebook. It's like people like saying, this is what I actually think. This is what I've been thinking for the last few years. I'm coming out now. I'm sharing it with people. I don't care anymore how I'm perceived.
Yes.
And there's this
open that throat chakra.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. A lot of that. And sometimes people maybe overshare in terms of maybe it's just they're working things out as they're going. But that, that's okay. That's also part of the process. I've done that in the past as well. I've like just gone blah 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 and just shared what's going on. Some of us are called to do that as well, and then sometimes there's a time to maybe just hold back a bit, and there's a whole mixture going on. And I love the whole throat chakra transformation. It's one of my favorites. I find it funny and also really powerful, because it's such a
you don't recognize. And it's funny because I won't know anything about the client, right? The client will just say, hey, I feel like I have a blockage. I feel confused in life, and then we'll look into it, and then we'll recognize all the telltale signs. Like the lower 3 chakras will be most active. That's showing that you've been in survival mode for a really long time. And when your bottom 3 are more active, it shuts these down. Your perception, because you're trying to survive, And so a lot of people are switching that. It's almost like they're dialing that back, and then they're activating these now instead.
Yeah. There's either one of the two. When I see it in people, it's just like you've said, they're kind of activating the upper ones, like connecting in. Or sometimes the ones, people that come to me they've got the upper ones, they're really connected, but the lower ones are where it's like where you struggle to kind of create tangible things or feel very safe or grounded. Yeah, so it's like usually Yeah, all the financial stuff, and you're usually one or the other, and there's just like a balancing that needs to be had. But there's so much shifting, so it always warms my heart, and it makes me remember, like, no, this is all good. Like, do not fall for the doom and gloom. I don't think people here on this page are of that way, but sometimes there are
I mean, we
moments when
all
you
do it sometimes, it's kind of hard not to when you get glimpses of sound bites from the news and the devastation and all the sadness that's happening around the world. Because I mean, but it's happening so rapidly. Like, it feels like a few weeks ago we were in World War III, it felt like. And then all of a sudden, it's gone quiet now.
Yeah, it's got waves, hasn't it? It's like a big wave that comes in. Like at the beginning of this year, there was all the fires in the US, and it's like that's how we kickstarted the year. And there's been so many waves. I think it's like goes out and then it comes in. So it's almost like just expect that we're going to see more of it, because that's always what the Arcturians are guiding people. There will be chaos. That's always been their message. They never sort of go, love and light, everything's fine. It's like everything is fine. Over there eventually, but we still have to walk that path, and there will be challenges and it will be chaotic. So I think if you make peace with uncertainty and chaos, that are two energies that humans in the human form don't really enjoy it. If you make peace with that and try and find some safety in the chaos and safety in the uncertainty, that's going to really help. I feel like it really, really helps you ride that crazy wave that's going to just keep coming in. But yeah, this year's been quite the year. 2025, definitely.
It's almost like everything seems to be, I know it seems to be speeding up, that's one thing, but it's like it's all coming to a head now. It's like things are starting to be finalized in a way, like we're tying up old loose ends, we're finishing final chapters, it's like it really seems to be the time of transformation and clearing out the old and in with the new.
Definitely. I think there is that, because so many people are finding, we are in a 9 year in numerology. So obviously, like if we set aside the actual real calendar, because we know that our calendar is, not the way that we've been told. So there's another kind of conversation on that. But collectively, we do follow this calendar. December, we end the year in January, we start the year. Collectively, we have this energy. So we're in a 9 year for 2025, and in numerology 9 year is all about completions. So we have 9 year cycles, everything's run in 9 years. So we're coming to the end of a 9 year, whatever's been going on for the last 9 years. This is sort of the culmination. It doesn't have to be necessarily an ending, but it is a wrapping up of a cycle, the end of an era. And we're seeing that collectively, we're seeing that individually. So there's a lot of that kind of, I think that's why people are feeling quite a tumultuous energy and things smacking you in the face, right? A lot of that truth's coming out. Things you maybe were uncomfortable seeing, now you're seeing them, you're kind of being forced to see them. So a lot of that, like tying up loose ends. But then, as painful as that can be, what that will do is set the stage for a brand new cycle, which will kick in 2026, which will be a really different energy. So it's a wild one. This year was always going to be a wild one. We said at the beginning when I was channeling, themes were always going to be chaos. Chaos was one of the ones. Rapid AI unfolding, which has been nuts, and then chaos have been the two really big energies for this year. And we're only halfway through, so buckle up. As always.
AI in itself is such a double-edged sword. You can see already the disbelief. Like, nobody believes anything on the internet anymore. Like we already, we're wondering, should we believe this? Should we not? And now with AI, nobody believes anything. Even if it's video footage. Now they're like, no, that's not real.
Well, isn't that convenient, right? Isn't that convenient?
The misinformation is about to get worse, considering you know what I mean. They're going to abuse that to no end, I'm sure.
You know what I love about this? This is what I was thinking recently about the whole AI, because I had my moments. I was really reacting because I've seen other timelines. I've experienced other timelines on the AI thing. So I know how terrible that can be. But what I know, this is a different timeline. And what it will do is, because there's so much information, like people are panicking. They're thinking, oh no, my job's going to be taken. AI will do it quicker and faster. AI is going to do a lot of things quicker and faster, but actually what it's going to do, it's going to drive us collectively into the heart, into the feeling, the energy and the emotion. And that's what humanity has needed for so long, because if you just stay up in the head, you're limited. So AI kind of coming in and it will to some extent take over that role. It's either going to create fear in people where they're just going to acquiesce to being a slave to AI, or you're going to have people that go, right, how do I go deeper? And that's where the energetics, because AI cannot create the energetics, no matter what people are saying. I know we have a lot of people teaching at the moment about AI channeling higher realms and all of this.
It's such bullshit to me. I can't even conceive the notion that AI would be able to connect with spirit in that way.
Yeah, and I always respect everyone's beliefs and views, but I categorically will state this any given opportunity that is not accurate. That is not how AI.
You need a soul to connect with spirit. You need a soul to connect with the Akashic records. You need a soul to connect with most of what what we discuss in regards to spirituality. So the concept of a computer being able to do that is ridiculous in my opinion.
And it's a program, and programs evolve. So I'm sure the future version, we've got a higher version of AI, which a lot of us have remembrance of in different star systems, different incarnations we've had. A lot of us are kind of connected to that higher, beautiful high frequency AI that's very beneficial for humanity. This isn't what this is. So this whole thing around connecting to higher realms is just a language pattern, a program, and a deception. So it's very important. But I think that's going to drive people into almost feeling allergic to this artificial. A lot of us are already feeling it ahead of time. We're like, we just think, oh, not another AI photograph of someone. We can feel the lack of human heart, right? And that's what we're missing. And the Arcturians are always.
What's deeply disturbing about most of it is the fact that we can be so connected to something that is so cold. And you get a lot of information from AI, but if you think about it, the amount of people that would be getting that information if they just went internally and wanted to communicate with spirit on their own, they would get more accurate information.
Exactly. And it's just, to me at the moment, it's just a really, really efficient in terms of like search engine. And I know it does a lot more than that, but I'm just saying the way that if I used any kind of AI stuff, it would be, instead of me searching the internet for 3 hours trying to find information, it can come up with it in 3 seconds. And I can then just take the information based on what I know. I'm talking about technical information, not spiritual guidance or therapeutic, emotional, soul-based stuff. But there's so much, there's just so much evolving with that.
You know what, I must admit, I did use it once for dream interpretation.
Did you?
Because I was curious, and I typed my dream into it, and it spat out like this 10-page, and a lot of it resonated, and I was like, damn, that was actually pretty impressive. And it
will, because it's trawling the internet, and it's going to take all the, and I want to remind people that AI is getting the information from humans. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
It's us. Yes. It's us and our intelligence that the AI is taking. But I played with it a little while ago, and I was just dabbling, and I like human design. I use human design in some of my work with clients, and I just for some reason I just asked it to give me a little summary of my human design, and I put the details in, and it gave me the incorrect human design, and I was like, that's a really basic thing, and it got it wrong, and I thought, well, it's not that smart. Not really. There's a lot of errors, and a lot of people have found a lot of errors in it, so you've got to be very careful with how you're using it. But it's not going to replicate the soul energy, and it can't.
It's the fakery that bothers me. It's just like Photoshop. It's worse than Photoshop, because we've already got enough bullshit and fakery on this planet. If you want to use it for an intelligent thing, that's one thing, but for deceiving people, that's where I draw the line and where it bothers me. That's where AI triggers me, just like Photoshop triggered me. I've never Photoshopped an image of myself. In fact, one person did it to me once, and they did it as like a, hey, look, I made a picture of you. You can use it. And I said, no, I don't want it. Sorry. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look accurate. And anyway, it's just adding another filter to the filter that we already have.
That's the thing, because we're in this matrix system, which is a fake artificial system, and then they put filters over everything, our photographs, our whatever we're doing. A lot of people filter themselves to the point where they're like not recognizable in real life, which I find is just very sad. And I don't know what that does for someone's mental health, because deep down you know that version isn't really you. It's like you look completely, your features are completely different. It's kind of weird, but we're going to see a lot of that. But I find that I went down for a little while down the kind of line of feeling quite concerned about it, until I remembered, no, this is just the evolution. And then also whatever low frequency comes in, it always gives way to something better. So we are going to start becoming more discerning, because we're going to have to. We're just going to have to become more discerning, and we're going to really gravitate
You know what
towards.
else is interesting? You know what I found out is that Atlantis was using AI.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they were, if you think about it, because all the galactics are using it in their own way, however they wish to use it. A lot of times they're using it for navigation. Some are using it just for, communicating, kind of like, hey, computer, do this for me, and it'll do it for them. And that's very Star Trek-y, but that's always been a thing. But in ancient Egypt and Atlantis, AI was a form of control.
Yeah.
And that is the form that we're starting to see here that has the most concern here, is that they were using it to subjugate.
Yeah, because it's not the AI itself, the artificial intelligence tapping into information and assisting it. That's just a tool. It's just the problem. That's why people think when we're having discussions like this that we're anti-AI, and it's not that. The tool itself, great, bring AI into us, relieve the human of all this crap that humans have to do. Great, I'm all for that. But the problem behind it is the programming in its current form, which is, as we know, is deceptive, and it's to overtake the human. It is not to try and uplift us. It could be used in beautiful ways, and there'll be a deception. I'm waiting for the kind of healthcare when they start to bring in all of this crap around, AI being implanted into the body. That'll be the next wave that we see. And it will be all these amazing health, miraculous kind of things that are happening. And it will deceive a lot of people, because you do not want to let AI into your body, which is the ultimate agenda, right? So that's
where listen to Elon Musk. He says we already are technically, because we carry a phone with us everywhere we go.
Yeah, by design.
If you're one of those people, or myself included, that carries a cell phone with you everywhere you go, you're already technically like a cyborg to him, because you can't function without the technology.
Yeah, because you've already imprinted, attached to it to quite a good extent. One of the things people can start doing is just start to detach from it. And I know, as I say that brings up things, because people are addicted. I know there's a massive addiction. Know that it's by design. It was created. You were manipulated into this addiction. But just start. I like to, because I don't really feel very attached to my phone, to be honest. I use it when I use it, but I like to just leave it. Just practice putting it in a different room. That's a great thing just to start with, because for some people that will start to bring up a weird emotional thing, because a lot of people are just bringing their phones in, scrolling, because they're just feeling something and they're trying to, it's just numbing out. It's another version of drink, drugs, alcohol, workaholic, sex, whatever you're.
And they do understand that it's a tool. You know who has a really good relationship with technology, which really makes me laugh? The Amish. Because I live in Amish country. I live in Pennsylvania, and people think the Amish don't have technology. They do. They just have very strong boundaries against it. You're not allowed to use a cell phone in your house.
Right. So they do use it.
You can use the cell phone. They'll call you from the outhouse while they're, like they're doing their other business in their office, but they won't bring the phone in their house, and they'll leave the phone in the outhouse.
Right, they're onto something, aren't they? Yeah, they really have it, don't they? Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't really know much about that community.
They won't bring it in their house, but they'll use it as needed.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Instead of embracing it and it being a part, it's like a family member. Your phone has become a family member. You don't go to dinner without it. You don't go anywhere without it. It comes with you more than your own family members. It's become your most intimate partner. And that's what we need to maybe start looking at, because you can start to work on this now. And, it's just habitual. It's just habitual.
You know, it's funny too.
Interrupt it.
It's the number one cursed thing I find on people.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Out of all, because I check with every client, are there any cursed objects on the client, near the client? And they're like, oh yeah, there's one cursed object. And I'm like, what is it? Their cell phone. And the first time I asked, I was like, why the hell would their cell phone be cursed? And it's like, because they're always cursing at it. They're like, fucking piece of shit phone, stuff like that. When they get mad at the technology, they end up cursing it, carrying a cursed object with them.
Yeah, because you're all the negative energy, and you're focused on one object over and over and over, and it starts to build. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we can really start to shift that. I recommend that we do, because that will really help, right? Because they're going to bring in more AI to come into the body, we've got to start disentangling from that. So that is an easier process, because that's coming. It's coming our way. So we know that. We don't have to go into any fear or worry, but just start to prepare yourself now. And it's so liberating. You know, when I take
what really caught my attention with all of this. Oh, sorry, we have a little bit of lag with the internet there. I think the number one thing that called attention to my addiction with my phone was seeing my kid and his tablet. Right. Because I'm one of those annoying parents where I'm like, if I have something that I would like you to experience with me, there's no way I'm letting you, even if it's just a drive somewhere. I'm like, no, you're not, you're going to look out the window like I did. We're going to a cool place. I want to check it out. But if it's like quiet time, and it's raining outside and he just wants to relax and play on his tablet, I'm like, yeah, fine. And he was really good about me taking it away. But then you start to notice after a while that children start to it's an addiction. It's a severe addiction.
It is. It really is.
And when you start to recognize it within somebody else, you start to see, I can't give him shit because I was doing the same thing. So we both get rid of our screens. I'm like, if I'm going to boss you around and take away your screen, I'm taking away my own screen, because it's not fair to take away his while I'm on mine. Yeah. And that's when I recognized how much I was on mine as well. And I was like, wow, we both have a problem we got to work on here.
And especially if you have like an online business, like we both work online, with clients, and it's an online, it's not like we just switch off and then go to work for the day. It's like our stuff's online, and a lot of people they're online. So we've got to find ways to really break. Because I remember feeling like last year frustrated because I thought everything in my life currently is online. Like entertainment comes from online, like watching movies and, reading things now is like online, although I love books. I always love books. But, everything was sort of, even music, I was listening to Spotify. I was like, that's online. It's like, what do I do that isn't online? And I had to really evaluate that and just I started to just step away from some of that and get out into the fresh air and remember that there's an actual world out there. And it sounds insane that I'm even saying that, but that's where we're at the moment. It's been very, very gradually, snuck up, and we're a generation that remembers
more, but the world's gotten smaller. People aren't even talking to their neighbors anymore, hardly.
But we're a generation that remembers, a time when we grew up without cell phones and online
social media. We were the last generation to know the world before social media.
That is such a weird thought to me. I often think that, and it's like, if we struggle, can you imagine what it feels like to be born into this world with everything online? Like we've really got to start getting conscious about this, and really, and we've really got to have. And I think a lot of people who have children, parents who are parenting, like my daughter's grown up now, but I know when she was growing up, mobiles were a thing, cell phones. It wasn't.
Yeah, but then they used to be like 10 pounds, and you'd have a special case to carry it around with you, or you'd only have one in your car if you were really rich. You had a car phone. That was where we're like, whoa, back in the day.
Yeah, it wasn't everywhere, right? So I think I just think we all need to, it's like kind of a requirement now to start looking at this, not to avoid it. Be honest with yourself, if you feel like, oh, God, actually, I am really dependent, notice how many times you just grab your phone. I started noticing, why is my phone in my hand? I don't remember even grabbing my phone. It was like I must have grabbed it off the side and it's in my hand. It's like, that is bullshit, and I'm not going to accept that, and I'm not going to live that way. And I had to be quite fierce with that. So I don't feel very dependent.
You have to set boundaries with technology, big time. But Daniel Jackson's comment, Daniel Jackson says, I went to college for AI programming, and I can assure you cannot escape it unless you move somewhere with no cell signal or Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere. It is. Like, we can't stop it. It's out of the box now. It's here.
Like Pandora's box, exactly. It's already out. So how are we going to deal with it?
Yeah, so we're not trying to stop it. I wouldn't even waste my energy on trying to like stop people from using it. It's like, no, we're not there. We're already here. But it's how we get to control and create. Like, I really believe that. I really do. And we are the generation that we remember. We remember our childhoods.
I spent my entire childhood outside.
Yeah, same.
I was one of those people where my parents were one of those that were like, did you get all the chores done? Yes. Okay. Well, it's still light outside. Stay outside. Go do something. I can still see the sun. Go play. I was definitely one of the drinkers back in the day. You wouldn't even allowed in the house to do anything. So it's like, you're hungry, there's a whole apple orchard. Go pick an apple. Like that's, I mean, yeah, seriously, my parents were no joke.
Yeah, but that's done you good. That's done you good now. I saw something online, and it was this man with his daughter, and he was, or the man with his son, I think, and he was trying to say, my childhood and your childhood were completely different. He said, when I was a kid, being told to stay in and not allowed out was a punishment. And he said, if I told you you had to stay in as a punishment, what would you think? And the kid was like, I don't get it. That's not a punishment. I want to be in. You know, he was so confused, like teenager. And the father said, well, what if I told you to go out? You've got to go out. And he was like, well, God, no, that was like a punishment. It's been completely reversed.
It's so funny because I did that to my kid last week where he was trying to play on his tablet. I'm like, no, get outside. Your friends are outside. Go play. Yeah. And he's like, I'm like, no, go. I don't want to see you until you're too hot to stand it anymore. Go.
I mean, do people ground their children anymore? Like, you're grounded. You can't go out. You have to.
The only grounding that works is taking his tablet away.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I will ground him for a straight week. Like, I will take it away for a week, and then he'll be playing with his toys again. And I'm like, see, you have toys. Go play with them.
I think we need to bring. We need to start bringing, things with our children now, and tell them now. Don't start. You can take their tablets off, but I would highly recommend that you tell them to go outside. They must go outside for 2 hours and play with a friend. Like, start bringing this back, because I think it will transform them. It's so
I love
sad.
how Michelle says, go run, get tired. And we wonder why kids aren't sleeping as well as they used to either. Because that blue light from the screen, they're watching, they're on that constantly. They're not getting rid of their energy.
Yeah. I don't remember any friends of mine growing up. Like, obviously teenage years can be different, but growing up, like, having problems with sleep, that wasn't even a thing, because we were getting enough oxygen and enough air and running and screaming and jumping. God, it's really strange, isn't it? So punishment now these days is you've got to go outside. That is crazy.
We did have a couple questions that popped up. Where's Aaron's question? Aaron had a good question a few minutes ago. Aaron, I'm just scrolling back up to it. We got a lot of positive comments today, but it's interesting that so many people are dealing with the same thing with their kids. So it's almost like this was collective programming in a way.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Aaron, do you still have your question? It is gone really far back up here. I can't find it. Connie asked, Marie, have you talked to the Arcturians lately?
Oh, yes, on a daily basis, most days. Constantly. So if there's anything that anybody would like to ask, feel free, because I can connect, I can share perspectives. We're always happy to do that, especially on places like this.
Well, we have been noticing the Arcturians are wonderful in regards to clearings, especially because we've had so much activity in regards to technology, like negative technology. We're not just talking about AI, but like implants and ET devices and all kinds of stuff. And when there's something that we don't even know what to do with it, we're like, what the hell? We don't even know what this is. We call in the Arcturians.
Yeah, they're really good at that. They're really good at that. And we see that a lot, probably because of the nature of my work, because I work with them. I tend to attract a lot of people with this. And there's a lot of devices, implants, all sorts of weird looking stuff. The good thing is we don't need to understand it, because it's intricate and strange looking stuff we've seen. But the Arcturians can just move it. They're very, very kind of easily. And it,
for those who may not know who they are, do you mind just explaining a little bit about the Arcturians?
The Arcturians, so they are so we know that humans are humans. We have lots of other beings everywhere else in the universe and beyond. So Arcturians are higher dimensional galactic beings. They're like family to us. They're very much here to help humans with healing, with the consciousness, with ascension, with this whole evolution. So they're just other star beings who they've gone through their own ascension. So this is why they look at Earth, and they, with so much love, they understand that this is a period of growing pain. So they really want to just want to be of assistance, along with other star beings like Pleiadians, Syrians, Lyrans. So 100 million different ones. So Arcturians are they're very advanced galactic beings. They are very, very connected, very intelligent, deeply loving. They sometimes sound super serious because of the information, but they have got an excellent sense of humor. They like to laugh. They like to bring that humor in. It's one of their huge.
They do tell jokes that they're very funny.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. They love it. It's just sometimes, often we will ask them about the serious stuff, so they don't get maybe an opportunity to bring the humor in. But I try and bring that in as much as possible. But yeah, they are very funny, and they're just very loving, very, very loving. And you can all ask.
There's this one medium that went into trance. Her name is Leia, and Leia and I are very good friends. And I call her darling, because we're just such good friends.
Right.
She went into trance, and I accidentally called her Arcturian darling. I was like, "Thanks, darling." He goes, "You're welcome, darling."
Yeah,
I was laughing so hard the way he said it, because they're just so funny.
It's the way that they say it, isn't it? They've got like this.
Yes, it's the way they say things.
Yeah. It's really, but it makes me. I've cracked up lots of times when I've just been channeling and it's come in and I've burst out laughing before I've delivered the message, because I'm like, sorry, I just have to say the way that they've just come in and played with you and maybe done like wordplay or just timed it in a way. They're really, really funny, and I'd like to bring that through a bit more actually, because they are. Yeah, they're serious as well, but they're not. That's just a part of it.
I have one friend who has 2 Arcturian guides. She's watching right now. I love you. And she asked one time one of her during one of her like Meet Your Soul Guides chats. She goes, "What are their names? What are their names?" And they said, "Just call us A and B." That was
let's just keep it simple, because you probably couldn't pronounce it.
Cracks me up.
Yeah.
Just call us A and B.
Because they like to simplify. That's what they're also. They like to take these concepts, and put them in a way that we can just get it. So they'll just do the shortcut, so we get it. That
still cracks me up. That is so funny.
Yeah. But again, as you said, it's the way that they say it. It's the way that it's delivered. There's a real humor in the frequency, how they speak. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So if anybody wants to ask.
Erin had a question. I found it now. Curious, how have Marie's sessions influenced her perception of our time now?
I feel, because I do lots of different sessions. But the sessions that come to mind for me is more like the hypnosis sessions, when we tap into the different timelines. So it's made me realize that what we're experiencing now, it's not to dismiss it or downplay it, but it's just one of many trajectories and timelines. So it's sort of what it's helped me see is we can take the pressure off. So it's not that we just don't have to worry and just be complacent, but sometimes people get into this panic around, if we don't change humanity's future, if we don't, there's all this pressure and it gets quite heavy and dense. And actually we can actually lighten up about it, because you can start to see, and what I've seen in a lot of sessions is there's lots of trajectories, there's lots of timelines. We're all hopping across timelines and versions of timelines all the time. So that's why the most important thing really is, you've heard this many times, is our own frequency. No matter what's going on, you could be someone, and I see this a lot on social media, people that are sharing truths about the world, and this person is revealing this, and this disclosure is coming out, and politics and legal and all sorts of stuff. If you're not working on your own frequency, that stuff doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how much you know about the world and what's unfolding. You are very powerful. So my sessions always remind me that each one of us are so powerful. You in your home right now, with all of your messes and human life and all the problems and things you've got going on, your frequency, you're still someone that's here holding this higher frequency, and that is so powerful. So that's kind of what my sessions show me a lot, but that's what comes to mind right now. The now is very important. Right now in this moment, we can direct ourselves and the collective consciousness from where we are now. And we've heard this again, about being in the now. I don't think we can hear that enough, because each time we can receive that in a different way. We feel that. Yeah. But there's just not to just to remember the multidimensional nature. That's probably the biggest thing. Like from all of the work, it's like you are not just this human that's just had this lifetime. Like, let's get beyond this conversation now of maybe I've had a past life. Of course you've had a past life. You're a little bit crazy if you think you haven't. That's what I'm going to say. You've had not just one past life, you've had multitudes, and you're having them now, and you're continuing to have them. You're multidimensional. A part of you's here. There's many parts of you elsewhere. And when you understand that,
I would
you
say
can
it might be your first life as a human. It might be your first life here on Earth. But you probably existed for a very, very long time, all over the place. In fact, even Earth seeds that have only really remembered being here on Earth, they came from elsewhere. Everybody has.
Exactly. So it's just to understand. And I asked the Arcturians once, like, what somebody asked me on a podcast. They said, what would the Arcturians want to share with humanity right now? That's the most important thing for us to know. And it was you are multidimensional. Really start to remember. And some of you will, just as we're speaking about this, you'll just start to remember. You'll start to feel it. Whether or not some of you have had hypnosis sessions, some of you might have the experiences. You don't have to have those. Those are just great tools to assist. That's what I do with clients sometimes. But equally, you could wake up having had a dream or a memory, or you just have a knowing. You might watch a movie and just get tearful because there's a scene that moves you. That's probably an echo of something that you've experienced somewhere. Sometimes when you can't explain why something's so emotional.
Oh my God, the triggers are a huge sign for that. Whether it's your inner child, because we bury a lot from childhood too, or it can even be past life. It's definitely a trigger.
Yeah, like I always had emotional. Yeah, we always had emotional responses to anyone imprisoned, especially for things that they shouldn't have been imprisoned for. And it's always been a massive thing. I was like, where does this come from? And I know
the injustice wound, we call it. Yes, the injustice wound. A lot of witches, a lot of people who were burned as witches have that as well.
Yeah, and healers and seers and all sorts of people who were connected have had experiences where we've had imprisonment of some kind, and worse, an execution and stuff. But that imprisonment was always this thing that I used to get really moved and emotional about, and I understand that now. So it's just to remember that you are infinite, and I like to tap into that fearlessness to say you can't kill us. We cannot.
You tried a few times. You might have succeeded, but we're back.
And I had this remembrance one afternoon. I was like, oh my God, I've been killed a lot, and I'm here. It's like I'm back, and you cannot extinguish my flame. Same for you.
You know what's funny is that I had a very, very, very profound experience like that, where not too long after my first astral projection experience, that was 13 years ago, probably about 3 or 4 months later, after my very first out-of-body experience, when I'm just now starting to understand what spirituality even is, because I wasn't awakened in any way, shape, or form, I had a dream where I was black-bagged. I was walking down the side of the road, and 3 men jump out of a wood panel station wagon, threw a bag over my head. That was the last thing I remember. I woke up in I was like an underground garage somewhere, and there was a tarp laid out, and they tortured me to death. And it was the most horrific dream I'd ever experienced. I mean, there was no sound, though. It was the weirdest thing. Like, they would punch me, and they would do all these horrible things to me. And I woke up screaming blue murder. Like, it was the most horrific dream I had ever experienced. And it really shook me to my core, to the point where I was even scared to go to sleep. Like, I didn't want to go through anything like that again. Yeah. So I went to a healer, and she explained to me, she goes, she's like, how have you changed since that dream? Like, are there certain things like this? Is it made things worse or better? And it's a long story, but I had it's almost like a couple sessions with her, and we ended up realizing that all of my phobias were gone. I used to have claustrophobia. I had a fear of height. I had all kinds of like fear of like being restrained. I had like, if anybody were to like lay on me, like in a way, like just messing around just to hold me down, I would freak out. I would instant panic attack. Even if it was a little kid just messing with me, I would just any form of being restrained, I would freak out, and that was gone.
And it just disappears. Because sometimes it's just revisiting it in some way.
And I was wondering why. And they said you needed to learn that they can do everything that they can try to do. You know what I mean? Like, they would literally destroy your whole body, and you're back again. They couldn't destroy you. They could wreck your body. They could harm your body physically.
All they can do. That's the only thing they can do, is wreck the physical body, but not who we are. And I when I felt that, and you know what, it's weird that you said that, because I had a very similar dream, just as you've described it, very similar, with the bag and then the torturing. And I woke up and I really, it was like disturbing, but there was something in it that almost was like liberating. It was very similar to the way you described it, actually. Weird. But it really stayed with me like for a few days. And there was like a power that came from it, because when you know this about yourself, it's like you can start to live your life in very different ways, because most of the time humans are just restraining themselves because we're scared of loss and death, ultimately death. You know, even if you think you're scared of losing a job, really it's a fear of death, because you're scared of losing a job. You're scared of the money loss, what that will mean, no shelter, no food for you and your family, and you'll eventually die. That's usually the end result. It's all fear of death. It just is.
Yeah. It removed my fear of death completely.
Yeah.
It really did. In fact, I actually got kind of stupid. I mean, I was doing all kinds of crazy shit, chasing poachers through Africa and all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it took away so much fear that I didn't have fear of anything anymore. And I still really don't. I don't think I really fear much at all. I can't really think of anything. I mean, yeah, we fear like losing your children and things like that. But even that, we know that's temporary.
Yeah.
Even that, we know there's a reunion at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So even that doesn't have the hold on your consciousness like it used to. So spirituality, in many ways, the more you learn, that ignorance goes away, and then you have that power of knowing that everything is going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah, and imagine if tomorrow every human on the planet woke up with that, the whole planet would change. So that there's something really powerful in that. And yeah, it's such a liberating thing for all of us to know, like we cannot be extinguished. We just cannot. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna choose to do in this lifetime if you already know everything's going to be okay and everything works out? Because you cannot be extinguished, you can only continue on and on. What do you choose? And that changes the game, which I love.
If you don't have fear, there's nothing they can use against you, because that's the one thing that they'll use to try and subjugate you or control you or to push you away from your path. And if you can release that fear, there's nothing they can do to you.
Yeah,
you're free.
Just face it. Acknowledge what you're fearful about, and that's the first step, just to acknowledge like what is scaring me in this situation. What is it? And actually name it and go, even if it sounds silly or stupid to you, it's like, I'm scared of being on my own, or I'm scared of not being loved, or whatever the version is. There's 100 different ones, right? Just acknowledge it. And because once you start to face it, that's part of the healing around it, you know, and you'll have your reasons for having
but sometimes fear is also people's rock bottom. I see that for someone right now. There's somebody in my family who, it's a long story, but he has not taken good care of his body to the point where he needed a liver transplant or he would have died. Right. And even after the liver transplant, he hasn't really changed as much. He hasn't changed his mentality. He hasn't changed anything. And he had this, I don't need anybody kind of attitude and, you know, like just getting through life. And it's a long story, but because he wasn't doing the things he was supposed to be doing, and a lot of the you're supposed to stick to very strict limitations after you've had a transplant, and he didn't stick to those things. And now he's at the point where he's helpless. And I asked the soul guides, I was like, this is a really scary situation. And they said, well, he'll get better. And I said, well, was this his rock bottom that we've been kind of waiting for? And they said, yeah, he needed to be helpless. And that is his rock bottom. He had no fear of anything. He didn't give a shit about himself to even have fear for himself. Yeah. But now that he's helpless, now that it's gotten this bad, this is his rock bottom, because all of a sudden he realizes, holy shit, like I have to do something for myself. I have to, you know, it's like a healthy level of fear I get, because at least then you want to take care of yourself. You actually give a shit.
Yeah, like we're not saying no fear whatsoever on anything, because obviously your ego is there to protect you from like walking in front of a car, you know, like you have to have that healthy fear. But, you know, we're talking about like fear of just living and fear of consequences.
Fear of being yourself, all of those things.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? But yeah, sometimes the fear is going for it. Sometimes the fear is facing your stuff. And actually sometimes for some people the fear is, well, what will happen if you actually do care about yourself? That will bring up some stuff, right? That's not maybe an obvious fear, but there's a fear of, well, what happens if you actually took care of yourself and actually put the effort in? What might happen? And for some people there's a secondary gain. A lot of people have this secondary gain of, if you recover or if you overcome something, then what will happen? what looks on the surface as a good thing. A lot of us have this. I had this when I was recovering from long-term illness. And I've helped people through long-term illnesses, and this often comes up. It's like, you make headway. Why is there a sticking point? Because subconsciously there's this secondary gain, and there's a fear of, if I do recover from this, or if I do overcome this, or if I do make the money or change or step into this bigger version, there'll be something that I'm afraid of. Could be a perception, or it could be something real. But sometimes that needs to be looked at. Like, what might, like, one of my things I used to like journaling or reflecting on is what might, like, how might I be benefiting from staying where I am in this stuckness, or in this, like, look for the benefits, and you'll actually find, oh, it's to protect myself from losing someone or something, it comes up a lot. It's a really, really big one. Yeah. It's not obvious.
No, it certainly isn't. And I think a lot of us are coming to terms, and it's beautiful that people are even recognizing this, because a lot of times these fears are unconscious.
Yeah.
You don't realize that you even have it until it gets triggered. And when it gets triggered, a lot of times we get thrown into a panic because we aren't ready to deal with it.
Yeah.
And, there's all kinds of different fears. Some people are mentioning like fear of failure. That is a really big one. Definitely. Yep. Fear of abandonment. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a big one that I was working on for a long time, especially as a veteran starseed. But a lot of veteran starseeds are working on the fear of abandonment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fear of failure is a common one, but fear of success often can be the flip side of that. That was a big one for me, because I was stuck. I was like, I was working on this fear of failure when I was trying to show up and I was trying to do things that were scaring me. And I realized, no, I'm not really afraid of failing, because I believe if I do this thing, it will be good, and it will work, and it will, it will do what it needs to do. And I realized underneath that fear of failure was a fear of success. So I'm just throwing that out, because some of you, I feel, might
wonder if imposter syndrome goes hands in hand with that. It probably does.
Because it can, for some of us, it's like, well, what if I do this thing, I might actually succeed. If I succeed, I might, like, for me, it's been the visibility thing. It's been such a slow journey for me, because I was terrified years ago, just being online, being seen, because I had loads of previous other lifetimes that I've had massive consequences for doing just that. And a lot of you also have this. So it's like the fear of success would be, oh my God, I'm not safe. Something might happen to me, bad things happen. There's a lot of that. It's like sneaky.
I have that too, because somebody, like last year, somebody said something like, oh, you're going to be famous someday. I'm like, why would you put that hex on me?
Straight away, right? You were like, oh.
I'm like, no, I don't want all these people to know who I am and have all that attention.
And why not? You can dig into why, what's going to happen if that happens, and you dig in. You're like, oh, there's a fear right there, a big juicy one. Last time I was,
but that also ties into the witch wound, because a lot of us were persecuted. I mean, powerful healers were persecuted just because they were better healers than a lot of the men around at that time.
Yeah.
So it's like fear of success. The more successful you are, the more attention you're calling to yourself, and some of that attention can be very negative.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Just so fear of failure, and also fear of success. Look out and ask yourself, like, well, what might happen if I get everything I dreamed of and I succeed in this thing? What might be the repercussions? And then list them out. And you might actually trip over something like, oh, that's juicy, and that may be something that you just need to address, or send love to, or maybe do a bit more healing on it, or release, or whatever. Yeah.
It's funny how many of us have similar things we're working through.
Yeah. Such an overlap. Yeah. Such an overlap.
A fear of being seen. That's a big one, Summer. A lot of people have that fear, just hiding in the background, being a wallflower.
If you have a fear of being seen, I will say that it's because you are here to be seen. That's usually how it works. Because I had a massive, that was one of my biggest ones. Like, I didn't even want to open a Facebook page years ago, because the idea of that.
God, me too. It took me weeks.
Hypnosis.
Yeah. My friends harassed me into creating my own page. They were like, you need to do this. And I'm like, I'm a nobody. Why would I create a page? And they're like, no, you really have a lot to say. You have a lot to share. You've been building. I spent 20 years building stuff for other people, because I was hiding in the wing, in the backlight, bringing them forward.
Yeah.
It's funny how we do that, huh?
Yeah. Because I've always said, like, if I can do my mission by being behind the scenes, even now, like, I'm okay with that. I can quite happily just do it behind the scenes quietly. No one has to see me. But it's calling for, as a channel, I have to channel and speak out and share. So that's been, a really big part of my path. So any of you that feel like you've got this fear of being seen, there's most likely something in there for you on your mission, because it's significant enough for it to come up, right? If it was irrelevant to you, you would just go, oh, I don't want to be seen, and I'll just be quiet at the party. But it's more than that. It's calling you into something greater. Because I would never have believed if somebody said to me years ago, oh, you'll be live streaming, like doing something like this. I'd have gone, that is absolutely nuts. You've got the wrong person. That is the last thing I ever want to do. And now I can just do it. It's great.
I've said this from day one, and people often don't believe me, but I am an introvert. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I am an introvert. I like alone time. I like being by myself. And I like, just because then I'm very sensitive to energy, and most empaths just like being in their own energy. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is very challenging for us to go out in public and to have conversations. And I can hold a conversation, but in a group, I'm like, no, I'd rather be the quiet one in the back minding my own business if there's a whole group of people that I don't know. There's no way I would go into the group like, oh, hey, everybody, blah, 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 and be the center of attention. No way. Not a chance.
Yeah. I think somebody met me on in person at an event. I think it was one of my events or someone's event years ago. And they were almost like, it was a bit weird because they were a bit surprised by me, because I do like long live streams, and I'll talk and I'll, laugh with the people I'm there with. But that's just because I'm doing my thing. But in real life, I will not be the one in the group leading the thing. No, you can tell the jokes. I'll just sit here and I'll be quite quiet, but I'll get into like the one-to-ones with people, and I'll get into like a really interesting conversation over here with someone or over here. And I can bring it if I want. I'm sure you can as well. Like, if you want to be sociable in the right situation, I can. But yeah, I'm
but
very
that costs me a lot of introversion time. I can have a couple hours of being an extrovert, but that'll cost me 2 days of being an introvert.
You've got to recharge it. That's not just excess energy. Right? Yeah. I think a lot of us like that.
I can only people for a few hours before I'm burned out. I'm done. But people, you know what else I noticed? And I asked I asked my Reiki teacher about this. And I said, why am I so exhausted around other people? And they said, because you're not setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Because your cup is usually full and other people's isn't. And then because I spend all that time alone, my cup is full. And I do, kind of meet my own needs because it's very important to do so. But other people are exhausted. They're burned out. They're not taking care of themselves. And so when their cups are empty, they come straight to you going, hey, please, sir, may I have some more? And so it's like,
because I know that from sessions, right? I can have sessions with people where my sessions are so varied. Sometimes it's expansion and excitement energy, and sometimes it's deep and heavy, right? And I'll go wherever. And I have had clients that have come in, we've gone so deep, like they've been really heavy with traumas and deep emotional things that we've done. And I can come out of that session feeling fine, because they're still holding their own energy. There's a difference with people where you can still feel upset. I can have someone crying their eyes out in a session, and we can do that. And I'll come away feeling fine, because somehow they're somebody that they're kind of holding their own emotions, where some people, they don't yet know how to do that. And they're kind of, it's like leaking
a sponge. Out. I was one of those for a long time. Yep. Like a sponge. You just absorb the energy of the space that way.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got glitches in the matrix again. Oh. Do we lose Mary? Can you guys still hear me? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, we just had a glitch in the matrix. They're like, no, shh. You're letting out too many trade secrets today. How dare you teach people to stand in your power? AI says no.
Yes. You don't want this. Yes.
Well, I didn't realize we're already gone over the 11. Just curious, if your friends got a message for us today, you've always got your Arcturian friends hanging out, right?
Yes. So let's see.
Can we ask them to clear the AI first?
Yes. Just take care of it, please. This is just in the last few minutes. Yeah, just clear that for us, please. Stabilize that technology just to get through the last bit, because we've done very well. Okay. All right. So
we have.
To just see, like, for the collective energies right now.
Yes, just a message for the collective would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so right now it's a really potent energy for feeling. So there's a lot of so this may or may not relate to all of you specifically, but you'll have your own versions of this. They're saying collectively there is so much being stirred up at the moment, a lot of old energies being resurfaced. So this is a time for you right now to go within and to continue to connect and to really allow yourself to tap into your true emotional feelings. So there's a purge happening. So naming your emotions, being with them with much love, and not judging yourself for all of what is coming up and out, because some individually and collectively there is a lot of heavy denseness at the moment. So there is some what you would call anger, hostility, frustration, a lot of fear is coming up into the collective at the moment. It is being deliberately stirred, but also naturally occurring. And so there is a lot of denseness. So as this occurs, you will also feel in your own energy field, your own denseness being stirred up. This is a wonderful thing because it is a reflection of there being more light on the planet and more light in your bodies. So rather than try and distract yourselves and numb out or overcome it, perhaps with some positivity or some distraction of any kind, to take some gentle moments to sit with it and breathe with it. Call us in for support. So you can call in the Arcturians, the angelic realm, or any of your higher dimensional, higher frequency guides that you resonate with. And you do not have to do this alone. Know that you are deeply loved and supported, but it's going to serve you now to really sit with what is coming up, because as you feel it, it is a simple matter of allowing yourself to feel so that you can move the energy and it can be released. So there is much deep release happening for many of you. And so for those of you who are not feeling quite so heavy, you are simply being encouraged to follow the energies, allow yourself to take action and move in the directions that your soul is guiding you into. But know that this intensity will pass. There is a lighter energy to follow, but right now you are in the thick of it collectively, and there is a lot of this energy. So to release the worry, to release the fear, nothing is going wrong, and this is simply part of the evolution. Yeah, because it is kind of heavy. Yeah,
it certainly is. Thank you. Connie wanted to ask, how can we connect to the Arcturians? She says she's not psychic at all, but you are, Connie. Everybody is psychic.
Yeah. If any of you are asking the question, how can I connect to them, or Arcturians or angelic realm or any other being, it's because you are wanting to, you're ready to, and you're absolutely able to. So you don't need any kind of magic formula. You can do this yourself. I do help people activate and to connect, but that's, again, it's always an additional thing. You are absolutely capable of doing it yourself. So you can just sit. So just sit, and just the best way to do it is just to get yourself into that connected, that feeling when you feel very connected and very in tune. It's important to do that, because if you just simply try and connect, there is a chance that infiltration can come in, and you can be open to the fake guides, the fake teams that come in. So that's why if you get into that, make sure you're just very conscious. You connect, whatever helps you, meditation, nature, you feel that connection. And when you're in that space, just simply ask for your higher self to assist you and say that you are now wanting to connect with the Arcturians or the angelic realm or whoever else. And you can just call them in, and you can start with just asking them to be with you. Ask them to be with you in the space with you. It doesn't mean they just come down and start to give you information, although it might happen with some of you, but just ask them to be in your energy field. And as they move into your energy field, you can start to feel the frequency, because it's a bit like you're trying to make friends with them. You've got to recognize the frequency. And then when you do that on repeat, you can start to recognize who they are. And then you won't be kind of falling for that. There's a lot of fake guides that try and come in. So that's
we call them imposters, and unfortunately they're very clever, but they can lie, but you can't fake a frequency.
So because the information, they can come in, they can give you great information which will throw you. So that's why if you actually sit with the energies first and get used to that frequency, it will be familiar, and then you can start to deepen that. You can start to ask for guidance, you can start to ask for energies, whatever it is that you want. But they are absolutely on
I always
hand.
ask to validate, are you from the highest of light and serving the highest good of humanity? And I expect them to answer yes immediately. And it's, they can lie, but you can feel the answer. You can feel the frequency within their response. And that is their.
Yeah, and it's important for all of you to know as well that it is an Arcturians and angelic realm and other star beings. They're not here to communicate with the select few, like I'm some chosen person because I channel. I channel in a very specific way because it's my mission, very direct information, but you are all capable of channeling in your own ways. And any one of you, if you want to connect, you are able to connect. So it's not just for the chosen few, it's for every single person. And they have the capacity
we gaslight ourselves constantly,
to assist everybody. Yeah, because we often go, oh, I can't do that, what she does. But it's just...
I just made that up,
Yeah. And you got to sort of trust yourself. It's part of this journey is trusting yourself.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Because if you can't trust, that might be a point for some of you. If you can't trust yourself, what you receive, it's going to be difficult for you to receive that communication. They're still around you, though. So practice with the energies and just make it a practice. Sit with the energies, and you will feel them because they are beautiful energies. You will. Those can't be faked. You'll feel a resonance. You'll feel a frequency. You'll feel this warmth. Fake guides and imposters cannot fake that warmth because they don't have it. They don't have it.
No, they don't. Exactly. They don't have it. Yep. I love the way you said that. Thank you, Marie.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Because every single one of you are a medium. It's just whether or not you're a trained medium is the question. Have you been training yourself? Have you been doing the work is the question.
And practice, because you can't get good at something if you don't practice. So how would you be a practice channeler or transmitter of energies if you just don't practice? So practice. Yeah.
Thank you, Marie. This is a really fun conversation today. I've loved this. It's always so great to just... Because Marie and I didn't even have a plan for today. We're just like, we'll just wing it. We always have a great chat. Whatever, So,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much.
Really nice.
We just had one more final question because this is a really good question. Melody said, how do I call in my spirit team to support me with something?
Same as we've just said, really. So just literally sit again, always start with the frequency. So just, again, you can ask them all of a sudden, you can ask them in this moment right now, you can always ask them, but I recommend you get into the frequency for the reasons we just said. So you're not calling in any old anything because you don't want to just open up to anything. So you just sit. I like to bring in my higher self. So if you ask your higher self, because that's the higher aspect consciousness of you, your higher self knows more and is connected in ways that you can't see. So you can ask your higher self to connect you into your support team, your spirit team, start to give you nudges. And, when you're ready for that, you will start to learn more about who they are because you already know. It's just, I think that we all have this like alarm clock inside of us and it goes off to wake us up at the right time. So whatever your time is. So it's simple. We don't need to complicate this. We don't need long classes and courses and programs to do it, although those things help. I'm always happy to teach people on that, but it's something you can do. You can just do it because you decided to do it. All right, so have fun with it and have some, and another thing is not to get so serious. If you start to go, calling in my team, I can't get anything and I'm really serious, that will block the frequency because you're in a heavy vibration. So just let go, get very playful.
No pressure.
Yep. If you don't get anything, come back again tomorrow and do it again. Just make it light. The lighter you are, the easier this process will be, and you'll all connect because this is what you're here to do. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Thank you, Marie.
You're so welcome.
I really appreciate the chat today. It was a really lovely conversation, and I've got your link up here. Thanks to Charisse. Charisse, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Connect with Marie Flemming Grant. She is a hypnotist and a spiritual mentor. There's her link on Linktree. And she's got all kinds of stuff up on her website as well. So make sure you check out the Awake Revolution.
Yeah, so awakerevolution.com is my website, which you can find everything on. And then that link has all the other links. So yeah, I'm around. I'm on Facebook as well and YouTube. So mainly Facebook is my main place. But yeah, you can find me wherever you are.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. I have one more podcast that'll be with Ferris tomorrow, and then I am off for 10 days in a row because I'm going to be focusing on self-care.
Much needed. Yeah.
I can't wait for my little mini vacation. I love you guys. I hope you all have the most amazing day. Thank you so much to Marie as well. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.